So it's Friday, which means it's Free Tip Friday here at beadshop.com. Wasn't it a great broadcast this past Wednesday with Brittany here? That's what really, I guess, inspired this Free Tip Friday project. The Bollywood, if you missed it, you'll be able to watch her on the replay. I'm just pulling everybody up here on the social media. But if you haven't watched it, you can find it several places. You can find it right on our Bead Shop homepage at beadshop.com, right on the project page there. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, beadshop.com, and of course on our Facebook page, also coincidentally, beadshop.com. Well, it's great to see everybody here. I see everybody jumping on. I see Janice has jumped on over there on Facebook, and I'm pulling up our YouTube stream. It's great to see you. Suzanne from Finland. Oh, Suzanne, it's nice to see that you're on. Hello, and all good wishes to you. I just loved that latest mala that you put up, which was so fantastic. I loved it. There's Tammy Drennan. Tammy, come home soon. I need a play date in the studio. We're gonna have a fun day today, though. It's like a play date. You and me right here in the studio. Geeta is on, and she is saying hello from across the Great Pond over in Denmark. She is our kind of celebrity moderator there, so she'll be moderating as beadshop.com over on Facebook, and Janice will be over on YouTube. I'm not sure how long, because I know she's a busy lady today with her grandson. I think she has with her today, and so we yep, she's on her iPad. I see it now. She's on her iPad for just a few minutes, so it's great. You know, I want to give a big shout out to Brittany Ketchum, who, as you know, when you saw Wednesday's broadcast, was here. I will tell you, she was, and you guys know this already, right, from watching her videos for so long, but she was just the consummate professional, and it was just so fantastic to have her. And I think her new twist, if you will, on the Bollywood project was fantastic. And we can't wait. Your love really showed through the broadcast to Brittany, and she was so excited. So she's going to be back for 3 more broadcasts. We're going to have her in July to tackle her I guess, seminal project, the project she's known for, which is West County Cuff. Then we're going to do kind of a new take on the Bollywood earring, and you know how I love earrings, so that's going to be great. That's going to come up in August. And then in September, she's agreed to do a special macrame project for us. So, and she's given me a little bit of a preview, and you guys are going to just adore it. If you saw the headband that she made her mom for her wedding, or for Brittany's wedding, for her mom to wear, she was wearing it also as a wrapped cuff. It's going to be a little bit of a variation on that, so I think you guys are going to love it. I also saw it jump on. My mom and dad are watching out there. I love it. So hello to you guys. And my mom is on the mend with her foot. So, and I can't wait to all be together when we go on vacation in June. All right. Business stuff done, family stuff done, rather. Let's get down to business here. We've got a lot to do today. And speaking of family, we're going to have a little bit of a special guest in a bit. My husband, Chris, who you guys also know, who runs our shipping department here at beadshop.com. He's going to come in a little bit later, and after I've worked on this piece, and we're going to do some sizing of bracelets for guys, because I know that's always a question that everybody has. Well, what do I make men's bracelets, or what do I do? You know, how do I go about it? So Chris actually, and I'll show you the colors and stuff, he chose this color palette yesterday. Because when I showed him the Bollywood bracelets earlier maybe it was the beginning of this week, I think, when we were looking at them, the ones that Janice made for the Riverwalk segment we did with Brittany, Chris was like, those are great. I want one of those. I was all right. And he wears jewelry. He loves the jewelry I make. I make him some metal jewelry, stuff like that. But he was all, oh, I've got to wear some beads. So, so these are colors that he chose. And I think it's kind of a cool design, a cool take on what we did on Wednesday with Brittany. I'm just going to go scroll through here and just make sure that we've got I've got everybody's questions here. It's gonna be fun. Just making sure they're great. Everyone's there, and I'm just gonna check the feed over on YouTube. Yes, so we're good. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this camera around, and you're gonna see what I see, and I'm gonna share some tips with you. Plus, you guys aren't gonna believe it. Janice, if you can stick around, though Janice, you probably already know this. I have a new trick with the thread burner. You guys are gonna, it's gonna change your life. I'm telling you. So let's do it. I'm gonna turn this around. Turn this round here. And someone's asking me about the jewelry I'm wearing. You'll see this ring up close and personal. Sorry, I'm trying to move this around and move the camera at the same time. I don't have Barandwin today, so it's not quite as smooth. I'm sorry. I'm making a mess of this. Let me pull this around. There we go. And let me turn this. There we are. I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it. So sorry about that. Look, you can see all my screens. Look, you can see behind the scenes. Look at that. Can you see all 3 screens that I manage for you guys when you guys are here? It's funny. There we go. Oh, bear with me here just a second. I'm going to straighten out this camera so everybody can see. And let me fix these cords, you guys, so we're in good shape here for you guys. So just bear with me here just a second. You can look at all the beads just sitting there waiting for you and me. So let me just do a quick little fix up here. And you know, that's the beauty of live video. There's always something. But I'm super stoked. I think you guys will have noticed how lately our stream has become a lot better. So thankfully, I think we're going to be able to keep that video stream nice and strong for you. Okay, there we go. I think that's good. I think I've fixed the cord so it's not in the way. Look at that. You're looking at my computer and some of these beads. Alrighty, let me move this around. There we go. Free Tip Friday, casual vibes. Hashtag casual vibes, right? Because I go it alone on Fridays. I do. So we're a little more laid back, right? A little more laid back here. Right, Mary thinks, who's in control of the camera? That's right. I am indeed in control of that camera. You've got that right. Okay. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. Alrighty. And let me straighten things out. Look at that. Spielberg has nothing on me. Look at that amazing camera work. Who knew? Okay. Let me get this out of the way. Let me move that in. Okay. Pardon me. So, we've got some materials here that I want to show you guys first. And then we'll kind of move along to the project here. What I did was I listed on our blog, on the bead table blog, and you can see it. It's linked now, and I'll finish all of the linking after the broadcast. But I've linked all of our materials that we're doing today, okay, that we're using. So I just wanted to go over this just real quick. Now you could do any of the supplies that you'd like, you know, any colors. But again, like I said, Chris was the one who pulled these colors, and these are kind of in his favorite color palette. So this, it's a little hard to see, a little bit of a glare on here, so I want to hold it to make sure you guys can see it. This is the 0.8 millimeter Chinese knotting cord, and I chose it in gray. Now, Brittany was really charmed by the 0.8 millimeter. You know, she told us a little story on Wednesday that she, when she made her original Bollywood bracelets, we only carried at beadshop.com the 0.4 and the 0.5, right? We didn't have this 0.8. And so she picked up the 0.8 right away and started using it. So that's what she used in the demo that she did on Wednesday. And you'll see more about that in the episode notes that Drea delivers to us next week. Okay, so there's the 0.8 mil. Now I continue to use, like we did in the regular Bollywood earlier that Janice did, the Riverwalk, I use the Matubos. Now the Matubos are a 2-aught bead, a 2/0, right? Aught 2/0, or a size 2. It's also sometimes known as a pony bead, kind of for you old school beaders. And it has a nice big generous hole, and they're perfect for kind of the scale that we're working with. Okay, and the color that I used, you guys are like, what color did you use? I'll tell you. I used the Matte Nebula Turquoise Green, okay, for that one. So so it was good. And then I used, for the base, remember how we talked a little bit about using leather for this piece, okay? I chose the 0.5 millimeter, or Chris chose it. I chose the size. He chose the green color. I'm using it in distressed dark green. And this distressed dark green, I'll get in a little bit closer. It's almost like a teal, right? It's really gorgeous, super, super gorgeous. So I've got that. And then I, just before the broadcast, right, I always have these ideas, I just grabbed some 1 millimeter just in case I wanted it for something, okay? Then, of course, I've got our thread burner, and the button that Chris chose, this is the one that he really liked. It's the Celtic knot button, the brass one that we have here, here on Bead Shop. And then, and like I said, the list of all of the tools or the materials and the tools that I'm using, you can find over on our blog, the bead table. And then Karen will have them linked on our homepage a little bit later. So don't worry, you'll be able to click on that. I also chose this button. This is our Bonkers button because I wanted to show you that you could use a button that has the holes in it this way, rather than a button that has a shank. You can do it both ways. Okay. So that's that story. That's what we're using. We also need a deep dish design tray, which I have here, and I don't even have a pad in it. The board is just kind of naked, which is kind of a faux pas, but that's all right. Casual Friday vibes, right? That's okay. Then I'm also using some clampers, and the clampers are great, and that's what's connecting this piece onto the board here, okay? So let me show you how I started. And I'm going to use this one with the Bonkers button. Let me show you, let me undo this one. You can see that I chose to connect the leather to this piece just with a little knot. I just found the center of the leather, pulled it through, and then tied a simple overhand knot. And that's what I'm going to do with this one as well. But this one just goes around the shank like this. And this one just goes through the holes in the Bonkers button. And Katie, you're mentioning how you really like that Celtic knot for men's bracelets. Yeah, Chris really liked it. We carry it in, I think, all 3 of the colors in brass. Let me see if we do. I don't want to misspeak. I think we actually only carry it, the Celtic knot, in brass and silver. And then we have one that's similar-ish. It's called Dubliner. And Dubliner also kind of has that kind of Celtic knot quality to it. And that one comes in copper. So you've got some choices there. Okay. So so I'm just going to tie that overhand knot. You saw me. I'll do it one more time. I'm just doing it kind of automatically. So here we go. We found that center. We just make that loop and we come through. Okay, that's it. And then I just come in and I tighten everything up. I want to try not to twist the knot. Let's make sure it's going around, because I want a nice clean knot. There we go. That looks good. Okay, there we go. So it's nice and tight. All right, so we've got that. Now we're going to connect this to our board. So let me get things a little bit bigger here so you can see this. I'm going to put this one just aside for just a second here. I'm going to leave it out though so you guys can kind of see what we're aiming for. Let me get rid of that. There we go. You guys can see it. Then I have my little piece of string here, just my kitchen string, and I've tied a loop on it, and I'm going to just connect that loop, see here, to the edge of my board, and I'm going to clip it here with this clamper so it's nice and tight. And then on the other side right here, I'll get that other clamper and put that sucker on. Okay, so that's it. So now we're ready. We're ready to go. So, you know what? This is going to be a little dark for you to see though, huh? With that dark cord and the dark background. So bear with me here just a second. I'm going to grab a, let me see if I have a, I have a board. It's a little linty, but that's okay. Better a little lint than not being able to see anything, right? So let me grab that. I'm going to put that right in there. So bear with me here just a second. I'm going to get rid of that. Let me get rid of that. This. Let me dump these matubos out of the way. And let's get that mat down there. Let's put these matubos in a triangle. And let's get this board underneath. There we go. I should know better, right? I should always have a little tray, a little project board underneath, but you know, sometimes you get lazy. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. Now, let me get everything going on here. So Lynn is asking me, Lynn, excellent question. So this is just going to be a single wrap for Chris. And so I wanted to make sure that I had enough leather. And you can see after I finished macrameing, I did have some length here. So I'm going to measure what I have here. It's about, I'll go all the way to the end of this leather. I would say about 2 feet, maybe 28 inches or so. Mine is a little bit longer, but I actually got it from the scrap bin. So it was just kind of there. But at least I would say give yourself maybe 28 inches, 30 inches, and then you double that over, right? You double over the 30-inch piece. So you're working with a piece that's about, I don't know, 14 to 16 inches long, just so that you have enough length to work with, because you don't want to have to add length. Well, you can't really, especially if it's a single wrap. So, so give yourself enough leather to work with. Okay. So now we're going to get our 8.8 millimeter Chinese knotting cord. So the way that I measure this, okay, we look at our board and our tray is about 14.5 inches long. Okay, so I use my tray to measure, and I'll go once, twice, 3 times, then I'll double it over. Okay, that gives me a nice long piece of cord. And now I'm going to use my thread burner. Let me get a little tighter. Someone asked here, let me go back to that. Barbara was asking, what's a good rule of thumb for measuring the amount of cord to use, the inside cord and the outside macrame cord? It's a great question, Barbara. Let me go ahead and burn these ends, and while I'm doing that, I'll talk it through. I'm using this thread burner to burn the ends, like I said. That way it keeps this Chinese knotting cord from raveling, and it's a lot easier to put the beads on. Okay, so I just do a little thread burn at the ends, and now my ends are nice and cauterized here, so they're not going to unravel as I string my beads on. So the rule of thumb, especially like if we look at this one, let me get the all of this out of the way. Notice how when you're macrame, this macrame is thicker, is bigger, right? So, or bulkier, I guess is the right word. So if I were using like skinny cord, like I did for the regular Bollywood bracelets, usually it's the Chinese knotting cord runs down the center, right? And then you macrame over the top with the same size. Down the center is so much thinner, right? Because it's like, you know, just two strands of 0.4 millimeter cord or 0.5 millimeter cord, or even like this, the 0.8 millimeter. But this is wide. Like even if I get my ruler here and I look and I measure, that width is, I don't know, it's about 3/8 of an inch or so. So you're using up a lot of cord. So this bracelet ultimately, from door to door, as I like to say, this one to here, it's about 7.5 inches, just shy of 7.5 inches in length here. So I needed a lot of cord. So this 3 times across, right, like this, 1, 2, 3, plus doubling it over, that gives me a good amount of length. But I am going to show you a little trick in a little bit, because with this one, I cut cord that was way too short, and I'm going to show you what I had to do to fix it. So I think you're going to love it. You're going to love this tip. It was life-changing. Okay, so let's put this aside. And then the length, and then to answer the second part of your question before we do that, this that's running down the interior, I would take the wrist measurement. Let's say your wrist measurement is 7 inches. I would add another inch for the knot up here, another inch for the knot down here, so that's 7, 8, 9, plus, I don't know, about 3 or 4 inches for the closure, so maybe that's 13 inches, plus an extra couple of inches just in case. So that gives me about 15 inches in length here, and you need to double it over. Okay, so that's kind of the formula that's running through my head. All right, so now let me take this cord, find the center. This is that 0.8 millimeter Chinese knotting cord, or CKC as we like to call it for short. I'm going to come in really tight so you guys can see that. And I think I'm going to try and maybe brighten the screen up just a touch. Bear with me here. There was a update on our equipment. Nope, did that make it brighter or darker? Maybe it made it darker. I should know better than to try and screw with the settings in the middle of a broadcast, but you know, sometimes you just can't help it. Let me see. I think let me see. Bear with me here, because I really want you to see this close up. So I'm sorry about a little bit of fiddling here. But, oh, I know what I did. Let's go back there. My goodness. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Sorry about that. Again, laid back Friday vibes on Bead Shop Live. Okay, so here I am in the center. My Chinese knotting cord, and I'm just going to bring it around the back of my leather. Okay, and let me start to tie my knots. And I'm just going to go back and forth with the Q and the P. And we have, you could watch us on Wednesday, You can look at our tutorials. We've got a skill builder on macrame, the one that Brittany did. But I'll just start by telling you we just have the two sides. I'm going to make that P. You can see that curve looks like the letter P. Goes over that center cord. This left-hand side of the cord comes over, then under the center cord, and out through the loop of the P. Okay, sorry, I jiggled the camera there. And we just reverse, we keep going. Here's the Q side, because that loop looks like a Q when you're facing it. And we go back to the P, around, make the loop over that center section of leather. The left-hand side goes over that cord, under the center, and up and out through the loop of the P. Okay, and we just keep going. Now what I did for this bracelet is I did 6 full stitches in between, so it made 6 half stitches, it made 3 full stitches. So I've got 3 on this side, 2 on this side, so I need to make 1 more. I'm going to get it even tighter so you can see that. You can see here, and I can know, I know this, because see how I've got those little scallops? I've got 1, 2, 3, but I only have 2 on this side. And I know that since the last scallop I've knotted, it's on the right-hand side here, I know that's where I want to start my loop. So on the loop side, or on the scallop side, that's where your loop is facing. So there's my P, over the tail, under the center, and up and out through the loop. And so now I've got 6. Can you see? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 3 stitches on each side. Okay, so it looks great. I'm gonna now add some beads. Okay, so remember on Wednesday when we were talking about Brittany, she said she strung all of her beads on the one side. She actually did hers on the right, and then she brought them forward as she did her stitches, and so it made the beads kind of stagger themselves, right? They weren't lined up directly across. But on this one, what I wanted to show, and let me get a little tighter so you guys can see this. Chris loved the green of this leather so much that I really wanted to show some of that green. So can you see how I put the matubos directly across from one another? That also opens up a gap in your macrame so you can really see the leather showing through. So that's why I chose to do it that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place my beads on. Let me make that screen a little larger. And I'm going to get my end, bring my beads in here. And since I thread burned that end, it's really easy to sail the cord right through, though I have way too many ends. There we go. It's really easy to sail the cord right through the bead holes. Okay, so let me get those up, and you can see they're sitting across from each other. And so now I double check and I look and I see that my scallop is on this side, so that means this is the side I make the loop with. So I'm going to make the loop. See, the bead is kind of captured there in the loop. We're just gonna let it sit there, right? This one with the bead on it, we do it just the same way. Comes over the tail, underneath that center leather section, and out through the loop. Okay, so as you tie the knot, let me get a little tighter. As you tie the knot, see how the beads just get captured right in there, and see how it leaves a nice gap. Okay, now I know that I put the loop on this side here, so I know I start my knot on this side here, but it really doesn't actually matter if you screw up and you do your knot on this side twice. This putting the beads on is almost like a reset, so it doesn't actually really matter. So, but I'm going to go here and we'll do that series of 6 knots, or 6 half hitches, or 3 full flat square knots. So that's 1. I'm going to go at lightning speed here, at real Kate speed. 2, 3, and I don't pre-load my beads onto this, onto here. I'm not using that many beads, so stopping and adding the beads on isn't that big of a deal for me. So I don't preload. Okay, so there we go. Okay, ta-da, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to add my 2 again. So we're going to go here, put this on, and we'll put this one on. Whoops, let me get into frame. Come on, there we go. Alrighty, and we'll do it all. We'll do it all again. I'm going to do one more series of knots here, and then I'm going to show you a trick. I hope you guys are ready for a trick. Necessity was the mother of invention for this trick, as I was running out of thread as I was making the sample this morning. And when you're under a time crunch, that's where sometimes I have to be my most creative, because you can't stop and start all over again, because I gotta get on air. All right, there we go, and one more here. Okay, so now here's 6. Okay, now let's see, you say you're going along and la la la, something happens to your cord. Maybe it snags on something, maybe it breaks, maybe you didn't cut enough, or whatever happens. But let's say that your cord just breaks, okay? And I'm going to break it. I know there's collective gasp out there in beadland. Oh, look. Oh my gosh, my cord broke. Oh, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to show you. It's okay. Don't worry. No problemo. What you're going to do, I'm going to get in nice and tight. Okay. And our thread burner, this, just to talk about it just a little bit, and you heard me talk about it on Wednesday a little bit with Brittany. We used to carry the thread burner. We love it here. We do it, we use it a lot for our, for cauterizing threads. This thread zap here, the one, this one that I have in my hand, we use, it's actually the perfect thread, the perfect end thread burner. And I think you guys will really, really love the quality of this tool. It's fantastic. It's going to last you a good long time, and it is it's going to be your friend for a long time if you keep it, if you kind of keep the lid on, keep the little tip in its home, so you don't have to worry about breaking this little wire tip off. You really want to treat it gently. You don't want to leave that lid off and then go away and do, something else or whatever. Always keep that lid on, and it's going to hold you in good stead. The other thing that I would mention is I would change the battery. I haven't done it in this one yet. I need to change it to a higher end battery here. I'm not going to pull it out, but it's really easy. It just goes right in the top here. But when you're not using it, if you're storing it, take the battery out, okay? And so when you come back to it 6 months later, your battery hasn't leaked all over the place. And I would go ahead and I would get kind of a high-end, good alkaline battery, okay, for that. Now, I still have this sad piece of broken thread on my beadboard, right? Well, that's where your friend and mine, the thread zap, come into play, okay? The Chinese knotting cord is a nylon cord, you guys, okay? Whoops, let me get more in the frame. It's nylon cord, so it's easily burnt, right? Let me use this other end over here. It's very easily cauterized and burnt as you just put your thumb on the button. The tip heats up. You can see it smoking just a little bit. You may be able to see that. And it just burns the thread away, okay? What it also does is it melts okay? And as the thread melts, you can cauterize or melt the two ends of the thread together, okay? So let me get here, and let me get here, and I'm going to hold that piece of thread in between my fingers. I hope you guys can see that. I'm going to turn on the tip of my thread burner, and I'm going to melt that end. I'm going to bring the other end towards it, and I'm just going to gently melt the two together. There we go. I hope that did it. I'm going to blow on it here just to cool it. Then I'm going to test it. Looky. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? And you can see that it's almost, there's a little dark spot where you've put it together, right? But it's not going to go, look at, it's not going to go anywhere, right? So if you, this gets cut or you don't have enough, just cauterize, just melt another piece right on the end, right? I love that. I think it's pretty good. Oh, Sarah, you're watching me with your kitty cat, Sam. Hi, Sam. Oh, our Sam. There he is out in Facebook land. Oh, that's great. I think I've just blown up the internet with that trick, right? It really, I'm telling, look, right here. It's not going anywhere. I know. I am so stoked about this, okay? So now you can just go on your way, okay, and just put on your beads. Really, the only reason I learned that, you guys, was I'm sitting at my desk making the sample about a couple of hours ago, and I realized I did not cut enough Chinese knotting cord. So I thought, well, you know, like we splice thread together, right? Like when you knit, right? You can splice, you wet splice your yarn, especially if it's wool, so you don't have to weave in the ends and stuff. And you know, Allie has done that splice with the glue and the leather. And I thought, well, let me just try and melt it. I mean, the thread melts, and sure enough, it melted together. And you can see where it is. It's right there. I'm macrameing. I'm pulling pretty tightly. I mean, not super tight, but it's nice and firm. And I'm not babying where the knot is or where that joint is made. And you can see as I go along, whoops, that one is wrong. Let me just take it out. It's okay, because I don't want it to be off. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. I was so excited. There we go. We want to do it over. I see where I went wrong. There we go. There it is. But you're just going to come along and it'll just blend right in, especially if the cord is darker. But see here where that little connection, let me come in really tight, it's going to end up under a bead anyway, right? So I'm just going to come in and put this on. We've got some comments over on the YouTube feed, which I think is great. Yes, we can make our own needles with this, exactly. You can use it to change colors. So if I wanted to stop using the blue and use another color, I could splice another color on here, right? Leather won't work. Actually, you need to have it be a synthetic material because it melts. So I bet you could do it with Ceylon. I'm going to have to try it because Ceylon is also a nylon thread. So I think it would work, but I'd have to try it out. This cord, this 0.8 millimeter, the cord has so much surface, connectable surface like this, right? That it melts together really nicely. But it, you know, just try it. You've got nothing to lose. Make yourself a little sample and see if it works. Don't try it on a real project. Get it going on a sample first and see if it works for you. But any of this, oh, it's good to know. People are also saying on the YouTube that it works with Fireline, So yeah, it should all work pretty well. But I'm telling you, the thread, the perfect end thread burner, we opted to go for the expensive one. We're carrying the one that's the high end. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but in my opinion, and I've used them and discarded them, that this one is the one that's going to last you a good long time. And you can, also we have the tips, so you can change out the tips when you need them. But if you take care of it, you'll never have to change out the tip, really. I think people have to change out the tip if the tip breaks off. Okay, so just be careful. So now, before I size this, and I'm actually going to text Chris to come on over, I want to show you a couple of tricks with the cord here that I think you're gonna like. Let me see. There we go. As I was macrameing this, I noticed, and I'll show you in this one. See how big, how generous the holes are in this 2/0 Matubo? I thought, you know what? We could get other stuff through there, I thought, right? So you can get cord. Maybe I'll move this over and use it this way. Flinging all over the place. There we go. You can get, see this 0.8 millimeter CKC? Look at how there's room for that to go through. So we could do, I'm going to show you on this one that I'm not going to size on Chris. I'll show you on this one. Hello, come join us. Chris is in the house, but I'm going to finish this little demo and then we'll talk about sizing. So we could also, I brought this 1 millimeter cord, leather cord, which we could also use to run down the sides. Let me untangle it here. So if, I'm just going to cut a little piece of this off. We'll see. There we go. And this is the Distressed Dark Green in the 1 millimeter. Let me ratchet this back down. Okay. Yeah, it is. It's kind of, yep, Kim, you read me exactly right. It's the bead weaving macrame combo, kind of, right? So let me kind of ratchet this down so it's kind of taut here. Then you could just come in, let me see if I could, I'm going to make a little macrame stitch here over the top. Remember how Brittany was kind of going over the top of her little slider fishtail, right? So that kind of gave me the idea that you could maybe layer, make it in a little bit tighter. And if I go through, look at, if I go through the Matubo on that side, and I go through the Matubo on this side, I don't know, this idea is not fleshed out at all. I literally had this epiphany 5 minutes before I went on camera, so just bear with me here. And then you could use like some metal beads. I grabbed these right off the wall because I was standing next to them. So they're 8/0. This is the Smoky Black Matte Picasso. Okay, but a metal bead, you guys are saying metal beads, the shadows would look amazing here, but I know that these 6/0 fit on this 1 millimeter pretty nicely. So look, what you could do is you could add that through, and then you could just, you could simply just string them down. Look, or you could do a, I don't know, you could do some macrame knots or something in between. Teresa has just had an epiphany and is shouting out over on the YouTube feed that it works with Ceylon. Great job. I love how you tried it and reported back. I love that part. So see here, I'm getting in a little bit tighter. You could, I don't know, we could use one of these 6/0, then we could go to the 2/0, and then we could go to the 6/0. Yeah, we could crisscross it. I mean, there's so much that you could do for this. You could add a charm. Look at how cool that looks. That pattern looks there, right? So just let imagination be your guide, okay? Just go for it. I'll finish these two. Then we'll get Chris in here, and we will get that measuring going. Yeah, no, people want to see it crossed over. So let me just tie a couple of macrame knots here. We'll go here. We'll tie a couple more over the top, maybe like 1 or 2. I don't know. Let me see. There's that, and it goes this way. This isn't too bad, actually, if I do say so myself. And see how the leather, when you macrame with the leather, how the leather kind of also makes some separation? Come here. It's a little more fiddly to work with. Who's the boss of that leather? Not me right now. There we go. And then I'll do this last one. I'll get my hands out of the way, and I'll get the camera real nice and tight so you guys can see what's going on. Let's see. I think I can get one more in there. Macrame that, and it's feeling to my hand kind of like a substantial, nice piece. So I think it would hang really nicely on the wrist. And then we'll just go ahead and slide these through the matubos. Look at there, done and almost done. There we go. Come on, Wise. Oh, you know what? You know what's in here? The splice is in this bead. Let me get a kind of a side cut, angle cut. Let me see if I can get it in there. Oh, I can see it. Yep, there it goes. I just had to angle cut it. All right, let me get the camera up nice and close, and you guys can see this technique. I'll have Karen photograph this, and this will be in the blog post, but you guys can look at it there. Okay, doesn't look too good. I mean, too bad. Doesn't look too bad. Looks good. I don't know what I'm saying. Looks good. All right, that's great. And then Whitney's saying if I spritz the leather with a little bit of water, it's more manageable. That's a really great tip. You know, I wet leather when I'm like stamping it or working with it in like more traditional leather ways. So that's a really good idea. You can probably, if it's slightly damp, get a nice tight knot on it too. Well, I've got Chris sitting here next to me. Hey.
Hello.
Hello. So, Chris, people were saying earlier when I said you were coming in that they love the way that you've signed the back of their packages. A couple of ladies said, I got Chris on the back of my package. So I thought, what better a guy to size a bracelet on than my dear husband. So I'm going to show you, let's measure Chris's wrist first. So we'll get and see, you can kind of see where we are. So you're going to have to scoot in a little bit closer to your wife. I know it's difficult.
Oh, for me.
Yeah, so I've got Chris's wrist, and I'm going to measure. So for Chris, he has just under an 8-inch wrist, maybe about 7 3/4, about right there. And so you want to make sure, like with this piece, it has some thickness to it. And Chris is also like typing on the computer and stuff every day. So we want to really make sure this is sized right. So if kind of the rule of thumb, and you've seen Janice do this, I come around with this tape measure, and I look at, let me turn this tape measure actually this way so we're looking at it in the right direction. There we go. I want to make sure that I have enough room so that I can at least kind of get my fingertip under the tape measure, right? So it's about 8.5 inches, okay? That's going to be about the length. And that's usually when I do a bracelet for Chris, that's usually the measurement I have in my head. We'll turn the camera around, Karen. I bet he'll stick around till the end of the broadcast. He gave you a little bit of side eye there. But, you know, what are you going to do? I also come around and I have this finished bracelet. I'm going to make sure that it also fits correctly. So I'm going to make sure that's going here. And as I bring this around and I see that it is going to close up here, and I check with my fingertip underneath that looks like it's going to fit nicely. The way I'm going to close this off, you guys, is I'm going to tie an overhand knot here, okay? So it matches that overhand knot that's here. You could use a transition bead. I could crimp it with a transition. I could also silk wrap it here if I wanted to. Okay, thank you for your wrist for the moment. Mm-hmm. And so let me measure this across and see. So we know that Chris's wrist is about 7 3/4 inches, and he wears a bracelet like this. It needs to be about 8.5 inches. So you can see door to door right now, it's just slightly under 8, which is perfect because the loop, when I tie the loop, or if I turn this over, you can really see, because that would be the true measurement there, because it's going to hook around that shank. So it's actually a little more, it's about 7.5, which is exactly perfect, because that loop, when I make the loop and tie the knot, it's going to give me a length that's about right on 8.5 inches. So now I'm going to just come in and I'm going to tie, I'm going to deal with the end here, and I'm just going to tie the ends of this Chinese knotting cord right into the leather knot as I go. Okay, and so it's just going to be an overhand. You can see where I spliced it. Can you see that splice? It's right there, but that's okay, because we know that splice is going to sit together nicely. Again, that transition bead, I could crimp it all. I could silk wrap it, whatever I wanted to do. It's a little twisty. We're going to see a little bit of that blue color in the knot, but that's okay. It's not going to hurt it. The button is probably going to cover most of this knot anyway when we go to put it on. And I'm just kind of coaxing the knot into a nice tight knot, nice taut closure. Oh, see, that one broke off, but that's okay. I could always cauterize it back on, but we're going to cut it off anyway, so we're not worrying about it. Okay, so there's my closure. Now I'm going to make my loop out of this, but I can get rid of these Chinese knotting cords here, so I'm just going to I'm going to thread burn them away. So very carefully, the way that Brittany was showing, you can put your Chinese knotting cord on the inside of the tip of your thread burner and be very careful. Press on the button and pull it through. Or sometimes what I do is I just kind of make everything nice and tight here, make the piece nice and taut, and then kind of burn it off under a little bit of tension. Now I'm going to, with my thread burner, I'm going to gently tap those ends of the Chinese knotting cord to make sure they're not going to ravel. There we go. Looks good. Okay, so now let's tie the loop for the button. I'm going to bring all of this around, and I'm just going to check it to see how we need that button to go through. So see, that looks about right, about right there. So I'm going to kind of keep my finger pinched there, come around, and then tighten that loop down again, making sure everything is nice and even. I'm not going to tighten it all the way until I slide that button through. That looks about right. So I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit more. But before I cut the tails off, I'm going to try it on Chris, okay, to make sure that everything's right. I still have things on the end here. I still have leather on the end, so if it's not quite right, I can always fix it. You can also see it might be, this loop might be a hair. Oh, no, it looks about right. I think it looks good. You can see. So, Chris, let's bring that wrist in one more time. And let's see how it fits. Ta-da! How's it fit?
That feels perfect.
Perfect. I'm going to cut the little tails off, so I'm going to get up close and personal with you on the clippers here, so bear with me here. There we go, that one. And you can leave the tails if you want on the leather, a little bit of a tail, but there we go, and that's it. Let's turn it around, and you can see it's a perfect bracelet for the guy in your life. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
How did I do?
It's
pretty good.
Fantastic.
It looks fantastic.
It does.
Yeah, so you'll wear it around and let's see.
All right.
All right. Well,
Thank
see
you.
if you can get our special guest, our other special guest. Is he around?
I'm
And
sure.
then I'll start signing off and you can peek in with our special guest. All righty. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It was super fun to share that with you. There we go. I'm going to move the camera. It's always easier to move the camera back than it is to move the camera forward. Let me get the video in here a little bit, and let me raise this up just a hair. There we go. I think we're good. Alrighty. So I will have Karen take some photos after the broadcast of both that one of Chris's and this one that I have on the board. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's kind of a good way to I don't know, play around with some techniques. It's not a huge investment in time, so you know, as you play around, you know, just kind of play around with some different techniques. I think we've got our special guest coming in. I know it's kind of tight, isn't it? There they are. There we are. Look, the happy family. There's Chris, and where's the boy? Come on, boy. Say hi to everybody. There he is. So there's our boy. Let's move this over. There you can see him. Oh, he wants to run away. Well, happy weekend from all of us, from you, from Alfred, from me. I will see you guys. Oh, Alfred. I'll see you guys on Wednesday with a really, I'm going to continue around with the macrame. We're going to have a good time. Check your emails this weekend for some fun stuff happening. And I will see you next week on Bead Shop Live. And Chris will keep shipping. All right. See you guys soon.
Bye, Alfie.
Bye. See